Hi there, and welcome to the Live Vibrant podcast, where we explore how to live with energy, purpose, and intention. I'm your host, Joshua Haag, a holistic lifestyle, performance, and success coach with a background in professional sports and 2 decades of coaching experience. Each week, I sit down with experts across a multitude of fields, including wellness, finance, and personal growth, to uncover practical strategies that will help you thrive in every area of life. Let's dive in and help you live your most vibrant life. I'm so excited to have on today Alison Verge. She is a strategic love engineer and relationship coach. Alison, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So obviously, right, it's the Live Vibrant podcast. It's about living a more vibrant life. Part of that is love life. And when we crossed paths, I was just honestly confused and blown away a little bit by that there is something like a love engineer or a love architect. Tell me, what in the world is that? How did you fall into it? What's your background? Fill in the blanks for me first.
Sure. Well, what it is I'm a relationship coach and a certified neurolinguistic programming practitioner, NLP practitioner. But I woke up one day and realized, because people constantly told me how deep my process is, I really go deep in looking at how someone works. And it's almost like looking at the system and personalizing it, uncovering the obstacles, and how, based on who that person is, we're going to rework the system to design, whether you're single or coupled, to design a love life that works for them. So whether that's finding the right partner and ensuring it lasts, because a lot of my clients tend to sabotage relationships once they find one, or in a relationship, ensuring that relationship works and is going to be fulfilling for life. You're not just like roommates. But I realized that I work with people. It's really hard to explain what I do. And I work with people on such a deep level from the very beginning to the end that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm actually somewhat of an engineer. Now, I don't want to insult engineers who've gone through all that schooling, but if you look at the steps, it's similar. So that's why I call myself a love engineer. It's about designing your love life with intention, because that's the issue I have, is that I feel like people are just leaving their love lives up to chance and just hoping things work out. So, and I really hate it when dating people go, oh, I'll just wait for fate to take place. And if it happens, it happens. And it's not that I don't believe in fate, but unfortunately, there's so many other variables that occur that are underneath the surface that if you leave everything up to fate, often you end up with the wrong partner or very unhappy or repeating all those same patterns. You need to have some intention within the process. I'm also romantic, sure, but I do also believe that you need to put your head into the game as well.
So what are your, in your process, and obviously you don't have to go through the whole thing, but what are your first steps? How do you start to walk? Because I have struggled with my love life for a hot minute. I will openly say that. And I am still working through that. How do you start to dig into it with somebody? Because you're not really a therapist, right? So in sitting down in a session, is it something where it's like talking about your past history and things like that? Do you look into, their psychology and what they're drawn towards? You just go right into almost like what's that called? Like a matchmaker? How do you do this? What are your first processes or first steps? I'm very curious.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I do have what's called the love engineering process. And the first stage is called learn and leverage. And that's really where I learn everything about you at a very core level. And it starts, if you're part of, whether you're a client of mine one-on-one, which is a much deeper level, or you're part of my new membership that's going to be starting, it starts with what I call your DNA assessment. And I spent a lot of time building this assessment based on psychological assessments that are out there, NLP, science. I've put every attachment theory, everything has gone into this assessment to really analyze what has been, what's your situation in life, what's been blocking you. It gives me a really clear idea of what's going on in your life and in your love life and what needs to happen in order to shift things. But then I meet with my one-on-one clients. This is where my NLP has really helped me dig deep beneath the surface. 90% of what's happening with us is underneath the surface at a subconscious level that we're not even aware of, that's actually blocking us. So often it takes a lot of conversation, different NLP processes to shift and rewire those patterns, but to even uncover what is going on, that's where I use those techniques with my clients to uncover. So what is happening? What's happening here with you? And that's where in the next stage we shift those. But the first stage is really about uncovering who you are and what's been blocking you. But I also use a lot of other assessments and exercises to figure out who you are, what you need in your relationship for you to thrive. So it goes beyond, like, there are things, of course, like values and love languages, but it goes far beyond that. So we really get a perfect picture of what you need. And it's not a checklist. This is what you need at an absolute core level for the relationship to thrive. And people don't understand this. Everybody thinks they know what they need, but they really have no idea. They really have no idea. And when you're really clear on this is when things really start to change for you and things start happening. You'd be surprised how things start happening when you get clarity on this.
I'm curious, and you brought up NLP before. What does that stand for?
Neuro-linguistic programming.
And what is that?
So this is where you tap in the process is where you rewire your beliefs and emotional patterns, really. And it's kind of like an internal code that's operating within you. And it's like we're updating that code that's occurring within your system. But I don't know if you've heard of timeline therapy, where
what is it?
It's almost like I can put you in a bit of a hypnotic state and put you back into the past. And it sounds a bit hokey, but it's proven to work.
Okay.
And it's quite quick, but I can put you back in certain times and shift the perspective, and so that it's not painful to you anymore. I can rewire different emotions so that those emotions are not blocking you. You'd be surprised how different emotions like fear, hurt, any kind of anger, those things can stop you so much in your life, and we can shift those, but we need to go back to the root cause of where that came from. And timeline therapy can help us uncover where did that come from and shift it. And NLP, there's lots of different NLP techniques, but even when it comes to confidence, there's different techniques where we can quickly adopt a different technique to rewire the brain so that you can have more confidence. So it's a lot of different techniques involved in NLP.
And so realistically, timeline therapy would be underneath the umbrella of NLP. So that's like the overarching theme.
Yes.
Got it. It would technically like affirmations or like self-actualization techniques be considered NLP?
No, not really. Not really. They are, in a sense, I guess, trying to work on rewiring the brain, but those aren't specific NLP techniques. I would say those are more.
So what's the difference?
They're really self-development, maybe cognitive behavioral therapy, but they're really just reaffirming different messages in your brain. NLP is really going deeper on a subconscious level to reprogram the code that's been ingrained in your system since you were a small child. We're usually going back even to the time you were 0 to 7 and shifting that. Affirmations are really more on a surface level. They're not that they're good, but unless you address where a lot of those things are coming from, or on an emotional energetic level, it's not really going to shift. If that makes sense. It's a little bit complex, but
no, it's good. I like it. And what do you say? So I go back and forth. A couple of my clients over time have talked about restarting therapy of some sense, or a couple of them have actually even done trauma therapy. So for those of you who don't know, it's a more intense version of therapy, really diving into major negative moments in life. And I go back and forth as I sit on the outside because I see the toll it takes on them mentally and physically. And I always go back and forth and wonder if, is that worthwhile, right? It's like a scab. We form a scab to protect ourselves. Technically, we've made corrections in our life to protect ourselves from trauma that we've had. So my question to you is, in doing these therapies, do you find overall, is it more helpful or less? Is it something where you have to tiptoe? Do you take it case by case, or does everyone revisit past traumas? And talk me through that.
It really depends on the person and what they're ready for. Some people are very blocked and some people are not. Some people are really ready for it. We do a lot of that in NLP, but I definitely can say overall, I think it's a very positive thing when you are dealing with trauma, any kind of hurt, pain. It's like a big energetic wall blocking you from having the life that you really want. And you don't even realize how it's blocking you in so many ways. Before I personally started doing all this work, I didn't realize the walls that I myself was putting up and where all the pain was coming from. I would take it out on my partner and not realize that it wasn't my partner in front of me. It was somebody else. Like it had nothing to do with my partner. And it was all about past hurts and pain. And once I started realizing that and realizing it was all about this hurt inner child, like once I started doing this work, it made all the difference in the world to my relationships and all the difference in the world. I would honestly, that's when everything changed and I instantly met my partner. Because when I was single after my 20-year marriage broke up and I was dating for 2 years and nothing was happening and I couldn't figure out what was going on, I was smiling on the dates and I was like, what? I don't understand. And then I started to realize, okay, wait a second, I could blame other people all I want, but I am the common denominator. Maybe I need to start stepping back and taking a look at this. And so I did. And that's when I really started analyzing everything. And I realized that I was putting up, I had a wall up and I had a lot of negative beliefs, thinking I was, inside I was thinking, well, it's never going to work. Like, I don't even know why I'm going on these dates. You can put all the smiles you want, but when you have all this pain and all these beliefs underneath the surface, it just won't work out. And when I started addressing those, almost instantly, I met a completely different, amazing person. So that's what happens when you start dealing with the hidden trauma, the hidden pain, all of those patterns. It can change your life extensively, your health, everything. It affects not just your relationships, but every part of your life.
Right. So is that kind of the origin story of how you got into this?
Well, it really started, yes, because I was in the relationship business because I was in the business world, but I managed relationships between corporations and businesses for about 20 years. I did manage relationships, and it was a very successful business. And I was married for 20 years, and by all accounts, people would have thought I had the perfect life and family, 2 wonderful girls. But then I had an accident, a skiing accident that left me with an incurable condition and in a wheelchair, and things looked pretty bleak. And my 20-year marriage came to an end at the same time when I was trying to fight my way out of the wheelchair. And life didn't look too good, but I'm a fighter. And with my fight for my health and my fight to realize that one way or another I had to turn my life around, I knew I didn't want to be this bitter, old, disabled person. I also, you hear the story. I think it just makes you examine your entire life. And all of a sudden, my job didn't seem this right anymore. I felt like I needed to do more for the world. I was actually went to a women's group, and everybody who said what they did was doing something like coaching and energy. I had never heard of these things. Energy. What's energy work? I was so fascinated. I was like, what is that? And what is that? And what is that? And I was like, and then when I said what I did, I was like, I how am I helping people? And all of a sudden, I just wasn't fulfilled. And so I was like, I have to do something else. And I wasn't sure what it was. And then this relationship coaching school came up on my screen. I'm like, that's it. I have studied relationships my entire life. Like, even though I was in it in business, I did psychology in school. I've read every relationship book. People always talk to me about relationships. I always want to talk about relationships. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I went back to school, and I've got one. I did my life coaching, my singles coaching, my couples coaching. I became certified in sexology. And then I did NLP. And so I did a lot of education, and that's kind of how I got into it. And I haven't looked back since. There's been a lot of, as I've realized, learned about the industry, a lot of shifts, but I've stayed in the same industry, and I just love it. It's very rewarding and fascinating. And as I learned, it helped me myself. You learn so much as you go through the process with your clients and in the schooling as well. It's been amazing journey for myself as well. I'm such a better person than I was years ago.
Man, I love that. And then I think I would follow that with asking what realistically a love engineer gives me kind of a picture in my head of a specific, I don't know, path, thought. And with your immense background, why did you choose love engineer versus like a relationship coach specifically? What are the differences? Kind of like help me disassociate all of it.
Well, you know what? It's funny because there was always something holding me back a little bit. I was always reading the relationship books and looking at listening to relationship podcasts. And there was always a part of me that was watching like business podcasts and AI podcasts and there's always this right and left brain. And there's a part of me that I was like, how can I infuse a little bit more into the relationship coaching side of things to keep both sides happy? And the love engineer, when that kind of hit me, I was like, yes, this satisfies both my right and left brain, because I really am double-sided. Like I really am. It's kind of unusual, but I can be very, I guess, spiritual in that side, that I love personal growth, and I'm always doing personal growth, and I love this side of it, and the somatic energy release side of NLP and that portion. But I also really love the business side of things, the tech, because my program involves a lot of tech and modern tools, and I love that side of it too. So that's where the engineering component came in. It just didn't seem enough to just say relationship coach. It's just very different, I think, than anybody else out there. So that's
For those listening, it's very curious. Alison and I off the recording have been talking about her programming and the using AI and different in-depth like coding things like that. So it's curious that she says that in terms of blending both left and right brain. I think it's spot on. As I've gotten to know you, I think that's really cool. I think it's spot on. Realistically, though, personally, and I'm going to speak like the big lug that I am, love is always woo-woo, right? It's always, and I am a little bit believer, the right person walks in the door at the right time of your life when you're ready to accept it. Okay, great. And there's a little bit of fate to that. There's a piece to me that also does believe that I make the choices in my life to be in the right place at the right time, right? Luck is where preparation meets opportunity. And I believe that. But how do you incorporate more of an engineering side to it, a control side, an analytics side? How do you do that? How do you blend it all? Because let's face it, love for a lot of people is that spiritual space. It is like a soul concept. How do you blend them all together?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, first of all, you're not going to get that soul component if you're blocked. It's not going to happen. Or when it happens, like I said, my clients have literally sabotaged a good thing. So that's where so I talked about the first stage is really choosing the right person. Also, chemistry is a very, very powerful thing. So if you leave that up to chance, and so you could say, okay, the soul thing, it's so powerful. It's as strong as cocaine. So you could convince yourself, and also based on past programming and issues, that person is right for you. And how many of us have done that all the time? We meet someone, the chemistry's so strong, we go, this is it, especially if we're lonely. This is the person I want to spend my life with. I love them. And then a couple of years go by and you're like, oh my God, I'm so miserable. Or they leave and you're like, oh, but they weren't really the right person for you. And this is why it's so important to do the actual work to figure out who is right for you. And then you can have the fun. I'm not saying don't have fun and don't have the soul component. That's a big part of it. But if you do the work to figure out what you actually need, it will be top of mind. And like, you don't need to have a list with you. It will be top of mind. You go out there, you have fun, and you'll know. And actually, it's like when you're starting to look at cars and you start seeing that car everywhere, you'd be surprised. Those people will start coming around, the right people. When you get clear on what you actually need, those people will start coming around. But I also create a personalized blueprint for people, and also in how they're going to meet people offline in places they never thought that are right for them. So they will have information that just for them on who is right and where they're going to meet them, so that they don't have to guess and they don't have to leave it up to just chemistry, which can completely take over the scenario, which isn't always right. And
becomes impulsive.
like it becomes impulsive. And then there's all the other stages. Like I said, you need to overcome the blocks so the relationship works. And then you need to ensure that you're in the visualize and validate stage. You need to ensure that you're both have the same vision, because how many people have also haven't actually got on the same page about wanting kids or wanting to move to Florida or somewhere hot. And the other person's like, I'm not moving away from my family. What are you talking about? And they don't have that conversation. Like, what is it you want for the future? I don't want to work. What do you mean you don't want to work? Like, it's just, you have to ensure you're on the same page for the future. And then also, how do you ensure that relationship actually lasts? So that's where we get design with intention. You've got to put some thought into the process, so that you have an actually happy love life and you don't end up living like roommates, which a lot of people unfortunately do. And that's not what you want. You can have a really happy love life with a great sex life. It doesn't have to go downhill either if you actually put some work into it.
It's very much, as people listening to this, it's a very agreeable statement. I think a lot of us are lost in it. I view it very similarly to people's physical well-being, right? It's work, but you have to, and I think the biggest thing is you actually put a process together for it. It's not just shooting in the dark for it. Would you mind walking me through those large stages? You had mentioned the visualization. My ears perked up. I'm a processes guy. I like algebra. I like that concept. And I think it's the purpose of this podcast is also to give some tactical ideas to people to help those listening actually apply some of the great coaching, to their own life in this moment. And then hopefully they can grow just a little bit from listening to us today. What are your stages? What should someone walk through in terms of start to finish, regardless of timeline? But what are your stages that you've created on this program?
So as I said, the process is called the Love Engineering Process. So it's an acronym, LOVE. And so the first stage is the Learn and Leverage. And this is where you do the work to understand your patterns and your beliefs, like who you are at the core level. So that's where you would, if you're doing this on your own, you would do various assessments that you can get your hands on to figure out, who am I? What do I really need in a partner, whether you are in a relationship or you're single? Because this is also the mistake that people make when they're in a relationship, is they don't understand who their partner is. And it makes all the difference in the world when you understand who they are, and then based on who they are, how you can come together better as a team to work together. Because when you understand how that person works at the core level, annoyances don't become quite as annoying when you realize that's how they actually operate. Like, you being a systems person, like, you need certain things, like you need to understand certain things. Like, someone who's not systematic might think that's annoying, but if they understand, I understand, because my partner is very
That so happened to me.
Systematic. And when we first got together, I'm not. So I didn't really understand when we first got together. Like, he had a plan for, like, when you go grocery shopping. And I'm like, who cares? Just go another day. And he's like, but that's when there's the best vegetables. And that's like, I always do my grocery. And I'm like, so what? And then I realized, once I started to understand, that we compromised. So he did it at a different time, but I also understood that he needed to do that, so we just learned that this is actually who we are as people. And so that is really, really important, whether you're single or you're in a relationship, to really understand who you are or who your partner is, and how you can come together and what is blocking you. What are your patterns? What are those beliefs that could be standing in your way? The second one, the O, stands for overcome and optimize. And this is where, when you have uncovered those limiting patterns and beliefs, this is where you then take the step to break those limiting beliefs, those cycles that are blocking you. Now, this is hard to do on your own. I'm going to admit, like, even me, like, I get help doing that.
Can
Like,
you give me an example? Because I don't even know at this point what you're talking about. So I'm assuming people listening might not.
So, for instance, a common one, like limiting beliefs, are that love is, well, if you're single, it's that there's no good people left out there. Like, if you're over the age of 40, it's like, there's no good people left out there. And especially women will be like, there's no good men out there who are single. Right. I hear that. Or women only want rich men and men who are over 6 feet tall. And limiting beliefs are going to hold you back from finding the right partner. Or if you have been dealing with confidence issues, right? Those are going to stop you from really having a successful relationship. If you're a people pleaser, you're a perfectionist, all these things are going to stop you from really having a successful relationship, either finding someone or being successful in your current relationship. There could be hidden pain that you didn't realize was happening from, like I said, age 0 to 7, that is so painful, there's a continuous pattern repeating that is causing you to sabotage relationships that you don't even realize. You could be intentionally pushing good people away, which I've had a lot of my clients avoidant in terms of attachment, and they do that, purposely sabotage relationships to test people, and they've sabotaged some good ones. So it's that kind of thing, but it can be quite difficult to deal with yourself. Like, we can't see ourselves very well. I think it's hard for any of us to do. So that stage is a little bit hard to do on your own. I would say out of all of them, that's the hardest one to do on your own.
It's curious. The concept you just mentioned about limiting beliefs, right? I sit down a lot of the times with people the first time I'm meeting them, and it's, when I start to grill into, hell, I just spoke to someone yesterday, and it's, what do you want? What do you envision for yourself? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to become? My job, right, just like yours within a love life and their own self realization for them, your job is to get them there, right? Who do you want to become? Who do you want to love and be loved as? And I'm physically, right? And the woman sat in front of me, genuinely had no idea how to answer the question because she'd never thought about it. She never dreamt about it before and wanted more. And she knew she needed it, but she didn't know how. And what's curious is we sat back and really started to just kind of drill down on the overarching feeling of allowing the boundary to move forward, be broken, be expanded, and just what scares you. And it was really cool to see her, like, you could see her processing it in the moment. And you said it, a lot of the times we only know the norm of our own self. We don't know how to become more until someone shows us that you can become more, right? And I don't know, I really resonated to it. I think that's fascinating. Granted, we're both health professionals, so it's there's a lot of similarities, but in that specifically, I see a lot of similarities. So very cool. What about V?
So V is visualize and validate. And this is where you create a very clear relationship vision based on all of the information that you've just uncovered, what you actually need in your love life. And then you pressure test it as an engineer would. So if you're single, this is where I call it a blueprint. You come up with a really clear plan of how you're going to meet, like, what do you need in order to be happy, but how are you going to meet this person on and offline? Or if you don't want to do online, it could just be offline or one or the other. I usually recommend a combination of both. I wouldn't recommend 100% online. I think it can be very hard on people, and then they get negative, and then that's just like a big block. But it's that, so you create a plan of how you're going to meet this person, and that's when you start to pivot as you see, okay, well, this is clearly working, this is not working. It's almost like A/B testing when you're doing marketing, right? But this is where also we create a story of them. Like that's really because we've uncovered who they are at the core level in L. Like so many people, especially when they're single, put out a profile just to appear perfect and then they kind of filter down. But you really need to put out the unique story of who you are and what you need and repel people. Like you need to get on the highway of the person that needs you, that little path. You don't want to be in that big, massive highway that everybody else is on, or you're never going to meet the right person. You need to be on, you're just a needle in the haystack if you're on online dating. You need to get on that little path where that other person who's looking for someone just like you can find you. So we need to create that unique story of you. And that's where we've uncovered that information in those other steps. And then we see what's working, what's not working for you. And we can pivot strategies. And if you're a couple, then this is where we figure out a plan for what's working in your relationship, what's not working, what have we uncovered is blocking, and we come up with a plan of how we're going to make it work. And so how are we going to increase intimacy in your relationship? Are we going to do date nights? What is the plan for your relationship? What skills do we need to work on in your current relationship? And that goes for singles too. What skills do you need to work on to ensure that you are successful out there in finding that person? And did you want me to go on to E, or did you have any questions about V?
No, I love that. I'm picking it all up. I'm like, I'm thinking about myself as we're talking about this. I'm like, how can I get better at my relationships?
Well, you can always ask me questions. You know I'm here. So.
Of course.
I'm always here. So E is engage and evolve. And this is where you're really taking aligned, powerful action with all of the information you have, and you learn to deal with the hurdles as they come along, because sometimes people just, and in normal programs, they just drop you once you meet that person, or once you've kind of, okay, like things are a little bit better with your partner, okay, end of story, right? I don't believe that's the case. And this is also a cycle. Sometimes you have to go back to the beginning because we evolve. And I believe that we always have to grow and we're always learning. And something big happens in our lives. Like, look at me, like big accident changed my entire life. Like you have to learn how to deal with life's hurdles because we all have them. It's not just me. Everybody has a story. Everybody has things happen to them. So how are you going to deal with these hurdles as they occur? And in the engage and evolve stages too is how you're really going to learn all those skills and ensure that the relationship lasts. And this is also where singles, okay, you've met that person, fabulous, but now let's work on the relationship, ensuring that it's right. Like, what are the red flags to look out for? And, how do we know it's right? How are we going to keep it going? And all of the other questions people usually have along the way.
I absolutely love that, your mindset of this is this continuous support, because realistically, the mentality and the approach, at least for myself, that I have in terms of meeting somebody, the process to getting to, okay, we're beyond just that quick dating phase. In my head, there's a different space, because then once that stops, and now it's like, okay, I'm like seeing this person for real. Now it's time. It's almost like my needs necessarily don't change, but the process of being in the relationship, the thought process, the communication has to change. Like things evolve. So it's cool that you have continuous support with that, and you evolve with them. You evolve with the person.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I absolutely do. I think it's so important because you do evolve, and you have to learn how to deal with the situation, especially when you're single, because there's a lot to deal with when you're in a new relationship. It's so exciting in the beginning, but then when the honeymoon stage ends and it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? So there's a lot that happens.
I'm curious, and the clients you've worked with so far as you've been doing this, are they more men, or like more male or more female?
That's funny. I would say it's 50-50. And sometimes it goes in stages, more men, more women, but it really kind of has been 50-50. And I love that, as like people often said, why don't you just deal with women? But I love dealing with both because it keeps me balanced in understanding how men work, how women work. And, I know there are amazing men out there because I believe that anyway, because I coach amazing men. They're really amazing men. And they're looking for amazing women, and I coach amazing women. So it just keeps me grounded. It reminds me of all these amazing people out there, and it makes me understand different brains.
And so, and I'm curious because this is a two-stage question. What's your age demographic in terms of the people that you work with?
So I say in all my marketing that I work with 40 plus, and most of my clients are 40 plus. A lot of them I would say are mainly 50 plus, but some are 40, like I would say 45-ish, but a lot of them kind of 50-ish and above. I have dealt with some in their 80s, even 80s, but I would say most of them 40 plus. You coach, I would say, who you are. And it's funny because I remember when I first started in this, they said, don't worry, because over time you'll find that your clients are kind of a mirror of you. And when I started to write it down, I realized, wow, they really are. Like they really are. But, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but they're really great people. Like, I don't know. I just attract.
It's okay. Toot. It's okay.
They are great. They are really great people. But yes, that's typically my demographic. And they're people that if you looked at them, you'd go, like, they're professional people, and you'd look at them and go, I don't understand. Like for the single ones, you'd go, they're really successful in their careers, they're good looking, and you'd be like, what? Why? You know, from other single people, they get, why are you single? But it's just, yeah.
Interesting. The reason I ask is I train, yes, 34-year-olds, but I train a broad spectrum. I have up to about 75, 76-year-olds down to 21-year-olds. And interestingly enough, I've felt the change in the dating world, but also looking at my younger pups that I'm training, both men and women. Online dating, I believe has completely I believe has thrashed the dating world. From your expertise, from your seat, helping others, now an older population, but still, what do you think about it? The apps, the swiping, the mentality, the Instagram, sliding into DMs, all that stuff. What do you think about it all from the expert's point of view?
Yeah, I think it's really hard. I think people are, it's almost the same now with movies. People don't have the attention span to even watch a movie anymore. It's just quick gratification. And it's the same with dating. It's just quick swipe. They don't take the time to really look at someone and read profiles and see what this person is about. It's just what's instantly going to stand out to them, but there could be something beneath the surface that they're not looking at. And that's where it's sad. That's where I miss the old times where you would meet someone at an event, because you do get that, even though I talked about chemistry can be dangerous, but you also do get the chemistry, you do get the conversation right away versus just judging a book by its cover, right? Which is what most people are doing with online dating, which
how do you help someone through online dating and the failures? Because I've met more people, women usually, a couple of them I've met are like, I'm inundated, I don't want to deal with apps. There's so many people liking me. But I've met so many people that are like, I can't even get a swipe. How do you help someone through that mentally?
Well, that's where every single client I have comes to me and says, don't even talk to me about online dating. I don't want to talk about it. I'm not going there. So everybody says that. Everybody I think, has dating app fatigue. I think I've only met maybe one or two people who said, I love online dating. I don't know, it's great. Most people are quite tired of it. I first do believe that people need to take vacations from online dating to kind of replenish their energy. But like I said, I help people by having a dual prong process, because it can't be 100% online dating. It's exhausting. And you also focusing on maybe one app at a time and limiting the time spent on an app, because some people get on like 5 different apps and it's like a whole other job. It can take over like 5 hours of your day, and it becomes an obsession. And it's just not healthy. So I usually suggest like half an hour. So we kind of have a strategy of how to tackle it. But also, when you know what you actually need and have a really good profile, you start, not that you're not going to get those bad situations happening, but you're going to get a little less, and you're going to get some better quality candidates come through. Things will change a little bit, but we're going to learn how to deal with some of the stuff that happens out there, like the ghosting and all of those things. Mm-hmm. So it's, how do you manage the process a little bit better? And people often don't know, like when you're not on whether the relationship is right for you and you're still dealing with a lot of pain from the past and trying to jam a puzzle piece in and make something work. It's just, that's when a lot of pain happens. When we start getting clarity on what you actually need, clients make better choices, and they're like, and a guy reached out to me again, and I would have gone on a date with this guy, but I know that's a pattern that I shouldn't repeat, so I moved on. And so it's great when
They
people
start to see it. They
they
start to
start to
see
see
that
it
pattern.
instantly. Yeah, when they wouldn't
Yeah.
have before, and then and newer people that are really great, they're like, all of a sudden I started seeing people in a different light. And it's not that they're not good looking, they're good looking people too, but they just didn't see, the people didn't either come into their atmosphere before, or they just didn't look at them that way before. So it's really, really interesting how it works.
And then kind of as we start to steer the ship towards ending, and I always, like I had said before, I like to get a little tactical, right? For someone maybe even scared for right now to work with you directly, like right in the get-go, what are one or two, maybe two or three things that they can really implement today to really start to better their life? Well, whether it's the online side of things, whether you want to talk about how to approach somebody, whatever you as the coach think would be like the lowest hanging fruit, like me telling you to go for a walk and get sunshine every day. That's the lowest hanging fruit I can give you to change your body. What's the low hanging fruit? Maybe two or three little tidbits that you could give someone. I'm picturing my 22-year-old client right now who is just struggling as a young man to date. But I also have, a 46-year-old who's the same thing, fatigue on the apps. She's super successful. Like, comment's going to be the same. What are your two or three, like, really juicy tidbits?
So one thing, this is called the one-line truth test.
Mm-hmm.
I would have people take a piece of paper or take out a recorder and say, and really think about this and put, if I were being totally honest, I'd admit that I blank, and finish that statement. Like when it comes to your love life, when it comes to dating, or it comes during a relationship.
Get my pen out. Okay.
Answer that question and just keep writing. Like, you'd be surprised what might come out. If I were being totally honest, I'd admit that, because there's a lot of projecting out. Well, the dating apps suck. People, like, there's no good people out there. People only want this. People only want that. People like, but if you were being totally honest, I'd admit that. And really just keep writing, just keep saying. If you're not a writer, I tell my clients, I use an app called Letterly that I love. And I just record, because I always tell myself I'm going to journal, and then I don't. But now at the end of every night, I talk to Letterly, and it's great. So that's one thing. And in that, I would suggest doing that a lot, because you'd be surprised at the truth that will come out at the subconscious level, and just in a variety of ways, just talk things out. And I would, if you are struggling with the apps, get off them for a while. Like I said before, take a vacation. Don't stay on them. It's the worst thing you can do. It's not going to work. You will end up meeting the wrong person. You'll end up sabotaging it. You'll just become more negative. It's like a bigger wall going up. It's just, you need to take a break so you can replenish your energy, become more positive. That's when things start to happen. Really think about your interests, who you are, what you love to do, and think about ways you could meet people in unique ways outside of online dating for a while, not go online, because a lot of people have the online dating burnout. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, and this works for whether you're single or in a relationship, is to really ask yourself the question of, if I were to really dig deep, and that one thing that I really need for my relationship, whether I'm going to be in one or I'm in one now, to be fulfilling and to really, like, that feeling of feeling at home, what's that one thing that I need? What's that core need? And be really honest. It's usually the first thought that comes to your mind. When you get into your head, that's usually not the answer. It's usually trying to convince you otherwise. But what's the first thought that came to your mind of what you truly need? And that's really what you should operate by, like what you should really think about, whether you're looking for love, like, is this person providing you with this? Or in your current relationship, are you getting enough of this? And this is how you should steer conversations. I was quite shocked when I did a lot of NLP work, and this came from the subconscious, that my word, because I wouldn't have thought this years ago, kept being safe. Safe kept coming out for me. I was like, safe? Where's safe coming out? And it was constantly my word that I needed. I needed to feel safe. And that is my biggest thing now. I need to feel like emotionally safe.
Mine's appreciated. I've been thinking about this a lot. It's funny that you brought this up. I've been thinking about it in a lot of my different relationships, personal, family, clients, friends. And it's one of those things that appreciated seems to be the word that always comes back of like, do I feel this? And the quickest thing to kind of deflate my balloon is when I don't feel appreciated. And it's just like, what am I doing here? So it's very curious that you say that. Thank you for that. That's
Wonderful.
It's interesting. Yeah. Because I do the self-talk. I like this. If I were totally honest, I would admit that I like that. Interesting. Yeah. Very, very interesting. So I know.
I'm glad you know your word. I'm really
I know.
glad.
I've been thinking about it a lot.
Yeah. And I would advise your audience to really think about that and think about whether you have that.
That's so fantastic. Your course. You're almost done with it. Do we have a guesstimate on when we hope it's out?
Yes. My membership should be starting next week. I'm really hoping it'll be starting next week, my Love Architect Society. So that will be really, really, I'm so excited about it because it will be taking people through these stages that I talked about in 3 different cycles. Like if you stay the year, it'll be taking people through 3 cycles of the process, getting deeper and deeper each cycle. But it's really cool because not only will you be getting exercises every week to go through, but it'll also be, and I will be available, but you're also going to have kind of a virtual world clubhouse to go into with a whole bunch of cool rooms that you can connect with people 24/7. And with AI tools, AI, like whether it's like that go with the exercises. So you could be, if I'm not there, you can be coached by an AI tool, or it's an AI app that will help you with the process. You get a new one every month as well to go with the different exercises. So it's a really unique process. And there's going to be workshops every month. And not only will it be me, I'm going to bring in different experts that go with the different stages, because I'm a big believer in holistic wellness, in that if you're hurting in one area of your life, and we talked about this, it's going to impact your love life. I want to bring in experts in various areas of life to ensure that you're really healthy in all areas. So there'll be different workshops in various aspects of life. So it's really going to be an exciting membership. So
That's
I will
amazing.
give you the link that people can join. And I've also got a gift. It's a secret love block quiz. So people could take the free quiz and figure out what's secretly blocking their love life and get a free love clarity workbook when they take it as well. So I've put that link, gave that link to you too.
I will make sure that's tagged in the video. And then what about socials and website? How do we find you? The wonderful Alison Verge.
Yes. So I put the best way now, I'm totally revamping my website, because my old website, pathtolove.com, is my old branding. And it's actually a little bit, I was playing around with it, coding in the back. Anyway, it's a bit distorted now. So I was revamping it anyway, because it's my old branding. So the best way to find me now is on my link tree. And I think I put that to you as well, if it can be in the show notes, because that has all my social media in it and details. And I also have an app called the Path to Love Mastery. It's called Path to Love Mastery in the App Store and on Google Play as well. So that is the best way to connect with me.
And for those listening that don't want to go through the show notes, just what's your social media handle? Just give me one of them. What is it?
Oh, sorry. I thought...
No. For someone who's just listening to this on Spotify and doesn't want to like dig through the show notes, what's your social media handle? Instagram, Facebook.
Oh, okay.
What is it?
Well, you know what? LinkedIn is Alison Ewell, YOUELL_Verge, I believe. And Instagram is Path to Love. I think if you look me up under Path to Love, a lot of stuff will come up, to be honest. A lot of stuff. Path to Love _Alison. I don't love, we could get into a whole conversation on that, but I
just wanted to make sure that people could find you. I will make sure it's all tagged.
Probably more than a lot of the other ones.
Perfect. That sounds great. Yeah. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on today and giving us some tidbits. I can tell you I will be using them in my multitude of relationships, personal and professional. So I can't thank you enough for sharing with me today.
I appreciate being here. This was fantastic.
We will absolutely be back on, especially as I know a little secret about your book release one day, and we will chit chat again. All right, Alison, you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.